Feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
I'm Cherylanne Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. Hello and welcome. This is episode 47 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. And today we're talking about bouncing back, how to build resilience after you have experienced a setback. And as I was getting ready for today, I was reflecting on this year, and I have to tell you, this has been a big year in my life. I look at it in sort of two pieces, like the business growth and the personal growth. And business-wise, this has been just an extraordinary year in terms of the growth of the business, the growth of the community that we serve, the growth of our actual members, like women who are in our paid programs, growth of my team, the women who are working within the Brilliant Balance company. That's been big. We've moved into an office. There's been a lot of change and a lot of momentum in the business. Yet it has also been a year of challenges. And when I look back on this year, I firmly believe this will be one of those years where I am very connected to my own resilience. Because along with all of that growth have come all of the growing pains that come with it. Turbulence in the business as it is climbing forward, as you're trying to scale certain elements of the operation or of the marketing, the growing pains that come with a growing team, and the blending of all of those talents and personalities. And I think also, challenges in just adjusting the vision and setting a pace of what is sustainable for my own personal balance, the balance of my team, really what's the throughput of our organization. And compounding that, early in the year, we had some really serious challenges with my dad's health that caused a ripple effect into all throughout my personal life, and into the business as well, if I'm being honest. So, periods of growth often can do that. They can create, so I think of it as turbulence in our lives. It's like we've upset the apple cart and the universe knows it. And there's these shock waves that get created by the changes, even when they're very positive changes that we're making. And I think, you watch things like when you're growing, whether it's personally or professionally, sometimes there are systems that get disrupted. Things that used to work don't work anymore. Or people get upset. People who knew you in one incarnation, one way of being, aren't quite sure what to do with your new habits and practices and ways of being. The energy shifts, and sometimes it boomerangs right back at us and really knocks us on our feet. And at that point, you have two choices. You either stay there and sort of resign yourself to it and essentially give up, or you get back up and you begin again. You figure it out. And I've learned, and I've just been so deeply reminded of it this year, that getting back up is everything. It's literally the difference between success and failure. Sometimes the difference between life and death. I mean, as I watched my dad battle through setback after setback after setback in his hospitalizations and illnesses, it was like the only thing keeping him going was his own grit and persistence and determination that, this wasn't it. He wasn't going to let this get him down. It was really exceptional to watch. So today we're going to talk about bouncing back, about building resilience, about reframing failure as just a punctuation mark in your journey, right? Not the end of anything. And there are a few really important lessons to be learned if you want to become an expert at bouncing back. And I think, honestly, none of us really want to be that, because if we had it our way, we would never get knocked down in the first place, right? If I had it my way, things would be smooth sailing all the time, but it's inevitable. If you want to be someone who can say, how did that song go? I get knocked down, but I get up again, right? If you want to be somebody who can say that, the first thing that you have to do is be able to assess the setback that you're facing, essentially analyze it through a lens that's going to break it into one of two types. The first kind of setback is something has been taken away from you against your will permanently. Right? These are things like you lose your job, or your spouse dies, or your house burns down. And those are heavy examples. But whether you've been through that or someone you know has been through that, they are real life examples of something being torn away from you very much against your will. It was not your plan that this is how it would go down, right? These are things completely outside of your control. Life has been irrevocably altered. Your vision of what it was going to look like has essentially evaporated. And there is really only one path through that type of setback or loss, and that is surrender. This one is all about releasing the original vision so you can build a new one and find something positive to steer toward, right? Anything less than that, anything short of that is fighting gravity. So as much as, I would love to tell you, here's how you bounce back from it, it's really step one is rooted in surrender to what is now the reality, and then shaping a new vision in light of that reality. Okay, that is not the kind of setback we're going to spend our time talking about today. Today, we're going to talk about the second type, which is, a setback where an obstacle has appeared between you and your vision. Okay, this is something like your business has a bad quarter, right? And your profitability is diminished. Or you are looking for a new home and you lose a bidding war for a house that you really wanted and it goes under contract to someone else. Or you apply for a job and you don't get selected, right? Or you submit your book to the publisher and it gets rejected. These types of examples, nothing has completely killed your vision. They may have delayed it, right? They may have made it more difficult for you to attain. They may have caused you to even question how badly you wanted it in the first place. But nothing has completely taken away your chance at that vision unless you let it. And that's the key, right? Knowing the difference between these two types of situations really helps you get clear about, is this a surrender path? Or is it something different? And if this is an obstacle that has appeared between you and your vision, and you can still imagine a scenario in which that vision is possible and you still want it, then the path forward there is about resolve. It's about grit. It's about persistence. It is about getting back up again and finding a way over, under, around, or through that obstacle, so you can still reach the other side. So that's the one I'm going to talk about today, is what are the steps? What are some of the keys to doing that when you've taken the hit and your brain is swirling, right? And you're essentially in fight or flight, right? You're angry or you're hurt or you're scared, right? All of those negative emotions are surfacing. How do you touch bottom? How do you get grounded and find your way forward? And I'm going to give you 3 keys today. The first one of these is look for the lesson. The first thing to do, right, when you realize, oh my, here is this obstacle that has appeared between me and the vision that I had originally set for myself, you want to look for the lesson. What happened? How did we get to this place? Let's go back to the bidding war for the house. What would you have done differently? Did you drag your feet before you made the offer? Did you get into an argument with your realtor about what the fair price was going to be? What happened, right? What was the lesson? If it's something like you applied for a job and you didn't get it, What did you learn through the process about how you showed up in the interview, how you showed up in the application process? This is what we're looking for, is personal agency, right? Where is your responsibility? What can you control next time? Because when you can reframe a perceived failure, right, setback or failure, as a learning opportunity, as a lesson, then you can grow. And the question I always ask in these is, what if life is happening for you and not to you in these moments? What if it happened for a reason? Like these setbacks are clues and they're sort of sending off flares trying to get your attention to something that required your attention. Maybe your business had a bad quarter, and because it was so bad, it caused you to really dig through and look at every cost in your system, every operating principle that you're leveraging. And because of that, now when the business strengthens again, you're even more profitable, even stronger, because you've taken the time to really get deeply into those scenarios. So looking for the lesson is important because it, one, gets you back into agency. So you're looking for what can I control next time so I get a different outcome. And two, it allows you to really clearly see this as a pause and not a full stop, right? It's a pause. There is another turn coming that you're going to have the opportunity to engage in. It's not like all is lost. It's one and done. You have an opportunity to get back in the game and apply what you have learned. So that's the first step, is look for the lesson.
Feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
The second thing is to decide if you need to adjust your goal or if you need to adjust your approach, right? How you're going after the goal. And they're different. Sometimes as you're looking for the lessons and really analyzing the situation, you're going to learn, my goal is, I have a different goal now, right? Maybe your goal was, I've been watching reruns of Suits, so this one's on my mind because I missed Suits the whole first time through. So I'm catching up now. That this is a series on Netflix if you haven't seen it. And there is a character in the show, she's actually played by Meghan Markle, now the princess, right? And she really wants to go to Harvard Law School. And so she's applying to Harvard, and it's just like, it's been her vision her whole life, and she's trying to pass the LSAT and she's not passing the LSAT. So she gets a job as a paralegal, and then she takes the LSAT again. And, ultimately she doesn't get into Harvard, at least as far as I am in the series. Maybe it happens later. And she has to make this decision of like, do I keep going after this? Is the goal still the goal, or is my goal to be a lawyer? And maybe I need to go to Stanford Law School, or maybe I need to go to a different law school and still get the goal of I am a lawyer, but I didn't go to Harvard, right? So that's an example of adjusting the goal, broadening the definition of what the goal would be. Sometimes you just need to adjust your approach. Maybe what you're learning is my timing is too accelerated and I need to slow this down. I still want to get there, but I'm going too fast, and because of that, I'm making mistakes. Changing your approach to the goal could be, I want to have this business and I want it to be that size, but the current product offering is not going to get us there. So I need to add products to our portfolio in order to still reach the goals that we have for the business. Those are examples of changing your approach. So your goal may be identical, but you may take a different approach. And that's the decision you need to make second, right? So the first was look for the lesson. The second is decide, do I need to adjust my goal, or am I going to hold the goal constant and I need to adjust the approach that I'm taking? Because something is not working, right? Something is not working, or you would have had it work out the first time. And then the third step is recover and recommit. And I will tell you, we skip recovery at our own peril. But in this case, I mean things like leaning hard into self-care, right? If you've just taken a hit, you want an opportunity to sort of lick your wounds, to maybe cry it out, to just have a period where you let yourself cry and get the emotion out. Maybe you need a lot of extra sleep so you get your mind cleared and you come back with renewed energy. Maybe you need, some playtime. You need some things that are pure recreation in your life that just remind you that there's a big world out there outside of this issue. Maybe you need to get away from it for a while, and give yourself a planned hiatus of time that you're not going to re-engage. If you didn't get the job, maybe you don't apply for a job for a few months or a few weeks, just giving yourself that break to get away from it so you can strengthen, so you can fortify, right? So you can get back to level with all of the practices that do that for you. Maybe it's spending a lot of time with your family. Maybe it's spending a lot of time away from your family, depending on, the cause of the situation. But understanding what do you need to do to experience recovery where you are back to feeling strong, where you're back in a state of examining what's possible. Then and only then, you want to recommit. And this is where, ultimately this is where we want to be. We want to be at that place where we're ready to recommit to the vision, which maybe has expanded or changed somehow through the process. You want to recommit to the mindset, right? Like what is the headspace that you have to be in to really go make this happen, to believe that it's possible again? You want to recommit to your plan, which also may have changed, right? The steps that you intend to take to get there could be different in light of this setback. And you even want to recommit to the rewards. This is a really important one. What are you going to do when you get there? Sometimes the rewards are inherent. You really want the job and you get the job. You really want to find the dream house and you eventually get one under contract. Sometimes those things are in and of themselves the rewards. Sometimes accomplishing the goal requires us to have our own reward that we're excited about. What's going to happen when you get there? And you want to recommit to that before you get back after it, right? So you're going to get back after it with that new learning that you've extracted, a new sense of confidence that you've built because you did something courageous, and a strengthened resolve that you will get there, that you will make it happen, right? That you have the persistence and the capability to ultimately get where you want to go. And without really understanding the framework, first of which type of setback am I dealing with here? Is this a situation to which I need to surrender? Or is this a situation where I need to recommit? Without first understanding that and then taking those appropriate actions, if it's the latter, you kind of end up laying on the floor, feeling punched in the stomach, not able to get back up and to try again. And that is where a lot of dreams die. Dreams die when we take the first hit and we say, well, it must not have been meant to be. Maybe I don't have what it takes. Maybe I can't really get there. Maybe people like me don't get to do things like this. When all of those old tapes and stories start playing and we don't look for the lesson, we don't decide how to adjust our goal or adjust our approach, we don't take the time for recovery, and we don't recommit, then we never get there. And that's the outcome we're trying to avoid. So I want you to take what you've heard in today's episode and think about, where have I recently experienced a setback? And can I apply this framework to get back in the game? Sometimes we go through periods where we are establishing massive setbacks piled on top of each other. Sometimes I call them Job periods, like from the Old Testament, right? That there are just periods where you're being tested. It feels like one thing after another is falling apart to the point where you're wondering, can I really stand anymore? Never is it more important to think about these principles than when you're in one of those periods. And it's almost like each of the things I talked about today gets bolded and underlined when you're in that kind of a chapter, where the depth of, time and energy that you spend looking for the lessons has to be even deeper. And the recovery time has to be even more substantial, because you have to get yourself to a place where you feel strong enough to go forward. Because everything you want is on the other side of that. Everything you want relies on your ability to develop resilience, because there is no path without friction. There is no path without setbacks. There is no path that doesn't require you to grow, other than the path of stagnation, of staying exactly where you are, playing very small, staying inside your comfort zone. Sometimes it's needing to learn new skills. Sometimes it's needing to push through fears. Sometimes it's learning to deal with new kinds of people, all of these possibilities, that lead you to where you really want to be. But that stagnant state of just being the way you've always been and doing the things you've always done, which can feel very comfortable for a while, really doesn't lead to the life that is possible for you. It doesn't lead you to the life of your fullest potential. So learning these lessons is imperative. So beginning next week, we're going to try something a little bit different. Rather than building directly on this lesson of resilience, we're going to go into a little bit of a series, a 4-part series on an area that really, from what I see, can get in the way of you achieving your highest potential if you're not careful, especially about your mindset in this area, and that's finances. So I'm going to do a 4-part series on finance. We're going to do 4 episodes in a row, sort of on different lenses of finance and more about the mindset around finance and the impact that mindset can have on your ability to really reach your fullest potential in your life. So we're going to talk about financial fears. We're going to talk about being a financial child or adult. We're going to talk about income potential and the belief systems that you may have about your income potential. And then we're going to look at this paradigm of expenses and investments and figure out whether the model that you're using is a current one or not. I think we've got some cool things planned in this series, both for the podcast as well as for the written content that goes with it and the videos that we'll do inside of our Facebook community, et cetera. So this would be a great time if you are not already getting emails from me and if you're not in the Facebook group to get yourself connected there. And here's how you do that. To get on the list, you want to go to brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all. And that is where you will find the rebalancing toolkit. When you download that, we'll give you the chance to be on our list and get emails that go along with these podcasts, blog posts and other content as well. And then to get into the Facebook group, you want to go to Facebook and search for Brilliant Balance. It is a group that you're looking for, so you may have to select that at the top. And it's just called Brilliant Balance. We have a couple of other groups that are for our membership programs. So just make sure you're clicking just the one that says Brilliant Balance to join, and we'll get you into the right place. This would be a great time to do that as we kick off that series starting next week. And I look forward to sharing that with you. It's been fun to put together. It'll be a little bit of something different as we go through the next month together. So that is it for today. Until next week, my friend, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.